Hello everyone, I'm Maria and welcome back to my Nook. Today I want to do the mid-year book freakout tag, which has been going around for multiple years already, I believe. I heard of it for the first time last year because that's when I really got into the book community. But last year I wasn't really able to do it as a video because of time issues and stuff. I did do it in my reading journal, but this year I am able to do it as a video, and I really wanted to do it because it was so much fun to do it in my reading journal last year, and I just really wanted to do it as a video as well. So first of all, I do have to say that I won't be able to show most of the books that I'll be talking about as physical copies because A, I did read a lot of books via my library in the first half of this year, and B, I am not actually at home right now, as you may be noticing from the background. So I'll put pictures on the screen and it'll be fine. And second, I do have my laptop next to me with all the questions on it and my notes. So if I just look over there from time to time, that's why. But now, without further ado, let's jump into the first question. So the first question is, what is the best book you have read so far this year? And honestly, I am not able to choose. You cannot make me choose just one book. So I basically chose four, and those were, or are, This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab, which make up the Monsters of Verity duology. And then there's Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo and A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn, which all of them I've loved so much. They gave me so much joy while reading them. I had the best of times reading those books, and I still think about them a lot. I read The Savage Song and Our Dark Duet at the end of March, beginning of April. I still think about them a lot of times. Same with Six of Crows. Same with A Curious Beginning. I am currently reading the Veronica Speedwell series, and A Curious Beginning is the first book in that series. So it makes sense that I'm still thinking about it, but like that book made me so happy. I was kicking my feet with happiness. So these are definitely some of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. If you don't know what they're about, by the way, in This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet, the Monsters of Verity duology, the main characters basically live in a world where violence breeds violence. So whenever somebody does a violent act, like an extreme violent act, like murder, or like shooting somebody, stabbing somebody, stuff like that, basically a monster gets born. And depending on the violent act, a certain type of monster gets born. And now they basically try to fight these monsters, and at the beginning of the series, the two main characters are basically on exactly opposite sides of the teams. There's like two teams and they're exactly in the opposite teams. That's about it, I think. Now in Six of Crows, I bet plenty of you know what that book is about. But there's these six people that go on an extremely dangerous heist together for a lot of money, and it's really good. It's a very good book. I don't know how else to like put it into a few sentences. It's part of the Grishaverse. That's maybe another detail I should mention. And in A Curious Beginning, we've got the main character Veronica, who then meets our other main character Stoker, and they solve a mystery together. It's a historical fiction with a bit of romance, but it's like a slow burn romance over the course of the whole series. There's currently like 8 books out, and I think a 9th is in the planning-ish. So that type of situation. But yeah, I've been really loving that one so far. The next question kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, and that is, what's the best sequel you've read so far this year? And I would definitely say it was Our Dark Duet. I haven't read that many sequels yet this year. I haven't really started that many series, or am in the middle of that many series in this year. But the best sequel I've read this year was definitely Our Dark Duet. That one was so chef's kiss. So far, I've loved every single work that I've read by V.E. Schwab. I loved it so much. It was an emotional roller coaster, but I loved it so much. The next question is a genre you've been reading the most or loving the most, and that is absolutely fantasy. I looked back at like my Notion and Goodreads and Storygraph to see what type of books, what type of genres I've been reading this year, and then I saw that like out of 24 books I finished so far, I think 19 or so were fantasy books. So I think that should answer this question. This next question is about which new releases I haven't read yet but want to, and those are The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren and definitely Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. These were 2 of my most anticipated reads of 2023, and they have come out, but I just haven't gotten to them yet. But I will, or at least I hope I will. I definitely want to get to Love Theoretically very soon. My dad is mowing the lawn right now. Of all the times he has to mow the lawn, he's doing it right now. But it's fine, we're gonna be fine. This next question also goes kind of hand in hand with the previous one, and that is, what is your most anticipated release? The thing is, most of my most anticipated releases for 2023 have already come out in the first half of 2023, which is kind of funny if I'm being honest. I don't know why it's happened that way, but it did. I don't know. So for the last half of the year, basically the only book I'm like really hyped for is The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. It comes out in September, at the end of September, and it's the first book in a sort of companion series to the Shades of Magic trilogy, and I read the Shades of Magic trilogy in November last year and loved the hell out of that trilogy. I loved it so much, and I honestly cannot wait for The Fragile Threads of Power to come out, because I cannot wait to jump back into that world and meet new characters and see what the characters from the Shades of Magic trilogy are up to, and I just am so hoping that it's going to be a good time. Which book was your biggest disappointment is the next question. Now, I am very sad to report that it was Happy Place, because that one was one of my biggest anticipated releases in 2023, and I did not love it as much as I thought I would love it or expected to love it, which was a huge bummer, and I'm still kind of sad about it. I don't know, it just didn't hit for me. I talked enough about it in my last reading wrap-up, so I'm not gonna talk more about it now, but it was my biggest disappointment so far. To be fair, I didn't have many other disappointments so far this year, if I'm being honest. I did DNF one book, but that wasn't a huge surprise because I had heard that a lot of other people have DNF'd the book for the same reasons that I DNF'd it before I even started reading the book. So I kind of knew that going in that it might be a possibility, and therefore it wasn't a huge disappointment. It was still sad, but it was fine. So happy place, biggest disappointment, very sad. On another note though, what was my biggest surprise? That was actually The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I had read The Name of the Wind, the first book in the Kingkiller Chronicles series, in January, and I found it fine. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I did sort of enjoy it, but it was a very slow book. It was a very long and slow book, so it was dragging in some points, and therefore I felt like if it hadn't been that slow, I would have definitely enjoyed it more. So I kind of just picked up the second book, The Wise Man's Fear, just because, I don't know, I kind of felt like I should pick it up immediately, because if I didn't pick it up immediately, I would have never picked it up, probably. And so I did pick it up immediately. And I read it over the course of February, March, April, May, like 4 months-ish. And I feel like that was beneficial to my reading experience, because that book was even longer than The Name of the Wind, and the slow parts kind of felt a little less slow because I was putting the book down every now and then and reading other books in between. I feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I did end up quite enjoying the book, and definitely enjoying it more than the first book. I still felt like if it hadn't been so slow and so long, I would have enjoyed it more, but I still enjoyed it more than I expected to. So that was my biggest surprise of the year so far. What are my new favorite authors? I would say probably Deanna Raybourn and Leigh Bardugo. I don't quite know if they're favorite authors of mine, but they are authors whose books I picked up for the first time this year, and I've really enjoyed those books, and I'm definitely going to read more of their books in the future. And I am really genuinely enjoying the Veronica Speedwell series so far. So Deanna Raybourn, I feel like could be a new favorite author. And Leigh Bardugo maybe too. Like, I loved the Six of Crows duology, and I had a decently good time with the Shadow and Bone trilogy as well. So yeah, I feel like those two probably. Maybe even John Flanagan, because I've been reading the Ranger's Apprentice series and having a good time with that as well. Those are new authors, and authors I've been really enjoying reading their books from. Staying in the same vein. I don't know how that saying goes, but something like that. Of favorites, what are my new favorite characters? And oh my god, I have a few. So first of all, Will and Sim from the Kingkiller Chronicles series. I didn't really think I would be saying this, but I fell in love with them. They're side characters, definitely side characters. They're like the best friends of the main character in the series, and we don't meet them until rather late in the first book, but oh my god, do I love them. They're a bit of a comic relief type of situation, but they also, like, they're not just a comic relief, right? They have a character and I love them a lot. Probably also because I listened to the audiobooks of The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss, and the audiobooks were not narrated by Patrick Rothfuss. But the narrator was so good at doing different voices for different characters, and he did Will and Sim so good, and some of the scenes were so funny simply because of the voices he did. I loved it so much. I Yeah, those two I loved a lot. And then there were Kate Harker and August Flynn from the Monsters of Verity duology by V. Schwab. I don't know what to tell you about them, but I love them so much, especially August. Like, oh, my boy August. I miss them both so much. I think about them a lot. I just love them a lot. Like August, I kind of related to on a lot of levels, which probably is a huge aspect in me loving him so much. Then there's Nikolai Lantsov from the Grisha verse by Levi Dugo. I don't know quite what it is about him, but I do remember that when he first entered the pages, I was like, finally an interesting character, and like he gave the story a sort of new spark, which probably really influenced the way or how much I loved him and how much I enjoyed his character. But I'm still really loving him whenever he shows up in the Grishaverse. So I'm honestly really looking forward to reading his duology, because I do believe that King of Scars and Rule of Wolves is about Nikolai Lantsov, if I'm not mistaken. Then obviously the Six Crows from Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. My god, do I love them. Like all of them. Do not make me choose between the Six of Crows. I will not. I love them all, and I miss them ever since I finished Crooked Kingdom. I am hoping that I'll be able to watch the Shadow and Bone show soon, so I can get more Six of Crows content. And last but definitely not least, there's Veronica and Stoker from the Veronica Speedwell series by Deanna Raybourn. They're amazing. Veronica is such a badass. She's such a strong woman, especially in the Victorian times that the books are set in. She just goes her own way, and that I respect her for that. And she's so passionately curious, which I love so much about her. And she has so many like quirks that I kind of love. Same with Stoker. He's such an interesting character that I really love, and he's a sweet tooth, which is so sweet. I don't know. And he's so funny sometimes without even meaning it, because he sometimes uses such strong language that like it just says that he said such a stream of profanity that it was too indecent to print, and I'm like, oh my god. That is so funny. Like, I love Stoker for those type of reactions. And yeah, I'm really enjoying their characters. Sort of in the same category-ish, who is your new fictional crush? And honestly, let me tell you, those are August Flynn, Stoker, and Kaz Brecker, one of the Six of Crows. Are all those three characters deeply traumatized and scarred? Yes. But has that ever stopped anybody from having a fictional crush? No, I don't believe so. So that I love them so much. Something about them just hits me, and I don't know what to tell you. They're just it for me. And I'm going to move on to the next question now, before I like ramble too much about them. Because now it gets sad. What book made you cry? And those are definitely Our Dark Duet and Crooked Kingdom. Boy, did I bawl my eyes out. And I am not going to talk about why, because that would be spoilery and also make me sad. So moving on. A book that made you happy. That was A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. Again, I've already mentioned it, but this book made me kick my feet with happiness. I was so giddy and just, oh my god, my heart was jumping with joy because I enjoyed that book so much. I don't know, I was laughing out loud so many times and I just had the best experience while reading that book. It was amazing. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book you've bought so far? And I have a few here. First of all, we've got Six Crimson Cranes and The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. And then there's the 5th anniversary edition of Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. I hope I didn't completely butcher that name. Enchantment by Catherine May. King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I know this book isn't like, probably not conventionally beautiful, but something about it just does it for me, you know what I mean? And then last but definitely not least, this book I can actually show you. And that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. And I don't know what it is exactly about this book. There's not that much on the book, but I just think this is so pretty somehow. I don't know. It just kind of, again, does it for me. And now, last but definitely not least, what books do you still want to read this year? Again, I've already mentioned it, but one of my most anticipated reads in 2023 is The Fragile Threads of Power by Byyee Schwab. I cannot wait for that book to come out. Then there's the rest of the Veronica Speedwell series by Deanna Raybourn. I hope I can get to maybe all the books this year. Maybe not, like if I don't, that's fine. But I definitely want to continue the series during the second half of the year. And then there's also the Ranger's Apprentice readathon that I'm still participating in. The books that we still are going to read this year are, one of them I actually have on hand, the 5th book, The Sorcerer in the North by John Flanagan. And then there's the 6th book, The Siege of Mackinac, I believe. And I think then we're going to read the early years, book 1 and 2, and then book 1 and 2 of the Brother Band series. I'm not quite sure why we're going to read the books in that order, but I'll probably follow the readathon that way. So those are the books that I'm still going to read this year. And then there's The Atlas Paradox by Olivier Blake. And I'm putting this book here because it came out, oh my god, when did this book come out? Last October or something. I believe this book came out last October or November-ish, which was rather shortly after I had read the first book in this series, which was the Atlas 6. I had read the Atlas 6 in, oh my god, was it June or July? I think one of those. And as soon as this book came out, I bought it. But as you can see, I still haven't read it yet. And I finally want to read it because I put the audiobook to this book on hold at my library. And I've been basically postponing my hold for months. Because every time I think, ooh, maybe next time I'll get to this book. Maybe next time I'll have time for this book. Maybe next time I'll be in the mood for this book. But it just hasn't happened so far, and I finally just want to get this book off my TBR, and I want to get that hold off of my library card. So I'm hoping to get to this book soon. And just in general, I want to try and cut down my physical TBR. My physical TBR is not actually that large. When I say I want to cut down my physical TBR, I know most people probably imagine I have a physical TBR of, I don't know, 70, 80, 100 books. In fact, I currently have a physical TBR of 32 books, which is probably very little in most people's eyes. But the thing is, I've been tracking my physical TBR since the beginning of this year, and I've been like cutting it down by like 3 books each month and then buying 5 more and then cutting it down by another 3 and then buying 2 more again. So I've been constantly just wavering around this like 30 book mark. So I've been constantly at like 28, 29, 30, 31, 32-ish books, just going down and up again and down and up again, that type of situation. And I finally want to actually cut it down a bit. A bit further below 30 books, you know what I mean? So that's something I want to do. But to be honest, I don't feel like my physical TBR has been stagnating that much, because I've been buying so many books, more than I read each month. But the thing is, I only buy a few books, which technically I could read as many books as I buy per month off my physical TBR. But lately I read a lot of books that I borrow from my library, which is why my physical TBR kind of is put on hold, I guess. So that's a thing that's happening. But yeah, again, I just want to cut my physical TBR a bit further down. And now I've been talking about that enough. Those were all of the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, maybe give this video a thumbs up, perhaps subscribe to my channel. Maybe let me know in the comments how you guys would answer these questions. I am very curious to see what you guys have to say about the first half of your reading in 2023. And otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video or somewhere else on the internet. Bye!